Welcome to Hypnosis Health Info. I'm Roger Moore. I often talk with folks about the addictive qualities of various foods, especially processed foods and foods that have corn syrups in them and other chemicals. And so I was pretty fascinated when I came across a Bloomberg report that was dated November 1st of 2011 that says cupcakes may be addictive just like cocaine. And it says a growing body of medical research at leading universities and government laboratories suggests that processed foods and sugary drinks made by the likes of PepsiCo Inc., Kraft Foods Inc. aren't simply unhealthy. They can hijack the brain in ways that resemble addictions to cocaine, nicotine, and other drugs. The data is so overwhelming the field has to accept it, said Nora Volkow, director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse. We're finding tremendous overlap between drugs in the brain and food in the brain. And folks, what's really important here to understand is that a lot of these processed foods act just like a drug, and they hit the exact same opiate receptors as heroin. The idea that food may be addictive was barely on scientists' radar a decade ago. Now the field is heating up. Lab studies have found sugary drinks and fatty foods can produce addictive behaviors in animals. Brain scans of obese people and compulsive eaters, meanwhile, reveal disturbances in brain reward circuits similar to those experienced by drug abusers. 28 scientific studies and papers on food addiction have been published this year, according to the National Library of Medicine database. As the evidence expands, the science of addiction could become a game changer for the trillion-dollar food and beverage industries. If fatty foods and snacks and drinks sweetened with sugar and high fructose corn syrup are proven to be addictive, food companies may face the most drawn-out consumer safety battle since the anti-smoking movement took on the tobacco industry a generation ago. No one disputes that obesity is a fast-growing global problem. In the U.S., a third of adults and 17% of teens and children are obese, and those numbers are increasing. And across the globe, from Latin America to Europe to Pacific Island nations, obesity rates are also climbing. The cost to society is enormous. A 2009 study of 900,000 people published in The Lancet found that moderate obesity reduces life expectancy by 2 to 4 years, while severe obesity shortens life expectancy by as much as 10 years. Obesity has been shown to boost the risk of heart disease, diabetes, some cancers, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, and stroke, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The costs of treating illness associated with obesity were estimated at $147 billion in 2008, according to a 2009 study in Health Affairs. Sugars and fats, of course, have always been present in the human diet, and our bodies are programmed to crave them. What has changed in modern processing that creates food with concentrated levels of sugar, unhealthy fats, and refined flour without redeeming levels of fiber or nutrients, obesity experts said. Consumption of large quantities of these processed foods may be changing the way the brain is wired. Those changes look a lot like addiction to some experts. Addiction is a loaded term, but there are aspects of the modern diet that can elicit behavior that resembles addiction, said David Ludwig, a Harvard researcher and director of the New Balance Foundation Obesity Prevention Center at Children's Hospital, Boston. Highly processed foods may cause rapid spikes and decline in blood sugar, increasing cravings, his research has found. Education, diets, and drugs to treat obesity have proven largely ineffective, and the new science of obesity may explain why proponents say, or may explain why proponents say. Constant stimulation with tasty, calorie-laden foods may desensitize the brain's circuitry, leading people to consume greater quantities of junk food to maintain a constant state of pleasure. Researchers are finding that damage to the brain's reward centers may occur when people eat excessive quantities of food. You know, folks, it was like 10 years or so ago that Dr. Neil Bernard wrote in his book Breaking the Food Seduction about the addictive qualities of a lot of these foods and their impact on the opiate receptors. And it goes on to say that in one 2010 study conducted by researchers at the University of Texas in Austin and the Oregon Research Institute, a nonprofit group that studies human behavior, 26 overweight young women were given magnetic resonance imaging scans as they got sips of a milkshake made with Haagen-Dazs ice cream and Hershey chocolate syrup. The same women got repeat MRI scans 6 months later. Those who had gained weight showed reduced activity in the striatum, a region of the brain that registers reward, when they sipped milkshakes the second time, according to study results published last year in the Journal of Neuroscience. A career of overeating causes blunted reward receipt, and this is exactly what you see with chronic drug abuse, says Eric Stice, a researcher at the Oregon Research Institute. Wow, folks, this is just pretty startling stuff that with all these new studies that are coming out that are demonstrating that, yeah, these processed foods are addictive and how they resemble the drugs out there like heroin and nicotine. And the good news is that hypnosis can change that addiction. And I see this over and over, and I've seen it for years with folks that come in and they're addicted to the processed foods, they're addicted to the sugars, they're addicted to the cookies and the candies and the Diet Cokes and Pepsis and all those types of things. And it's just a huge craving for them. And with a few sessions of hypnosis, very quickly they're able to end that craving, end the physical craving, and the mental emotional craving, change their thoughts, change their emotions, and change their behaviors so that they can create healthy cravings for vegetables, for whole grains, for fruit. And they learn to recognize when they're truly physically hungry and when they have enough fuel in their body. And they learn to separate, that mental emotional hunger, that stress hunger, that loneliness hunger, or whatever it might be, versus true physical hunger. Remember, physical hunger is actually a very good thing. It means it's time to eat. And when you're truly physically hungry, it's okay to make a choice of eating something healthy, like a vegetable or a whole grain or a fruit. But when you're lonely or you're bored or you're angry, stress eating of cookies or Hostess cupcakes or ice cream or McDonald's burgers or whatever it is, that doesn't serve you. In fact, that works towards killing you. So folks, instead of being controlled by the big food companies, the big corporations, why don't you take control of you? Why don't you learn self-hypnosis? Learn how to change your thoughts, change your emotions, and change your behaviors, and take the weight off, and most importantly, keep it off. And if there's any way I can support you, then feel free to give me a call at 206-903-1232, or send me an email, roger@hypnosishealthinfo.com. You're welcome to come see me here in the Medical Dental Building in downtown Seattle, or in my office on Bainbridge Island. Once a month I'm over in Forks. And if you live too far away, then send me an email, give me a call, and we can set up Skype and internet sessions and create a program that will truly support you in ending your addictive cycles with food. I'm Roger Moore, and this is Hypnosis Health Info.